Good morning, folks. How are we all today? I hope we're all well. Co-host on my knee today. He's become a lap cat. Hopefully, once we get underway, he'll shift because it's a bit awkward trying to work through him. But hey ho. So I've got myself a lap cat this morning to go along with the show. I also have a printout for the bank to let you guys know what's in the Two Davies account. And thankfully, Charlie's moved. And at the end of this programme, I will go on to identifying three food banks, food larders, soup kitchens, baby banks in the Midlothian region to get it out to. Okay, so I've got the printout, but you wouldn't be able to see it. I tried photographing it; it's no clear, but there it's there, and the number at the bottom there I've put in with a pen. There's £1,269.19 in the Two Davies account, thanks to you, the community. 750 of it will go out over the next few days, and I'll tell you where it goes when it goes out. Back to putting it out via the bank, folks. I don't have time to run along to Midlothian, West Lothian, but that was next door to me. I could nip along to West Lothian and let you see where the money was going. But Midlothian, East Lothian, Borders, across into Dumfries and Galloway, as we walk our way back up, then it's back to going to Motherwell to the bank to do the transfers. Okay, as I say, right after this programme, I'll go on to identifying the places where the money will go to in Midlothian. As you know, we try to avoid the Trussell Trust at all costs because they're getting funding. So it takes a wee bit longer to convince the people and the smaller charities that you actually want to give them money. Okay, right, let's see who's all in today. Hi Alan, hi Ange, hi Woodpet, hi June, hi Akis, hi Deans, hi Eddie. I think I've seen Barbara in there somewhere or not. Let's screw this up. Hi Sir Larry. Folks, if you haven't checked out Sir Larry's channel or Andy Luke's channel, if there's any moderators in and you have the links, could you stick them in the comments, please? Hi Kaz, how are you? Maybe ungodly hour. It's halfway through the bloody morning. Kaz, Jesus Christ. Hi Neil. Hi Harry. Hi Steve. Hi Stephen. Now who else we got? I'm sure I've seen Spanner McTavish in there somewhere. Christine Mackey, Melanie McCann, Mark Telford, Aki's Mad, Lydia, Alistair. Right, we're up nearly at the 100 mark, 98 watching so far. So we'll get this programme underway. It's Indy Truck Davy out the truck, not home, in his office in Southern North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, damp, drizzly, warm, pollen count is high, main allergen is grass. Okie dokie. Now it's the 26th of the 6th, 2025, and this is the newspaper headline review. And boy, there is some pish in the papers this morning. Shall we get on with it? Let us proceed. Second one for the bottom. There we go. The Scotsman's first up this morning, folks. And what's the Scotsman got for us today? The Scotsman has public sector jobs to be axed as near 5 billion black hole looms. Now, there's a couple of things we need to talk about in there, especially for viewers out with Scotland. This 5 billion black hole that looms has got nothing to do with the Scottish Government or the Scottish Parliament, who must by law run a balanced budget. Under the 1998 Scotland Act, the Scottish Government can't run a deficit and has limited borrowing from the Treasury. So that's not where the black hole came from. So we've got to ask ourselves, where did that black hole come from? And the answer, folks, was just 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And that was the UK government spending review and projected spending over the term of the Westminster Parliament for the next 4 years. Now, between inflation, public sector wages being really quite demanding, wage settlements being really quite demanding at the moment. The other thing, as I say, is the projected spending, because everything within that projected spending review has an effect on Scotland's budget through something called the Barnett consequentials. So if we take health, for example, in health, over the next 4 years, the budget will increase each year by 3%. Unfortunately, inflation at the moment, and it's likely to get higher because of what's going on in the world, is sitting at 3.4% for the CPI, the Consumer Price Index. It's higher on the RPI. But that means that next year, if inflation rates are the same, and the NHS and this year are only getting a 3% rise to their budget, that actually means it's less than enough to keep them standing still. Another example in the spending review. That was 0.4% rises each year over the next 4 years for education down that road. 0.4%. That's a 3% cut to the budget if we look at today's inflation rate. And even if they do get it down to the Bank of England target rate of 2% for inflation, that's still 1.6% short of what would be needed just to keep the education budget steady and the same. So if you want to know where the black hole's coming from, and these 5 billion figure that's being bounded around as if the SNP were responsible for it, that's not it. This is your spending review going forward. The amount that the departments are getting are not even enough to cover inflation, so they're less than standing still. It's an austerity budget. Budgets are being cut. Even when they announce increased spending each year, it's all relative. You've got to factor in wage rises, which have got to be at least the rate of inflation, or else people are taking a pay cut. And you've got to factor in inflationary pressures on the products and the goods used by the institutions. That's good in the running of the institutions themselves. So this 5 billion black hole which looms is actually a cut to the Scottish budget. It's also a cut to England's budget and Wales's budget and Northern Ireland's budget, even though their settlements reached under a different mechanism. Right, let's take that down. So, folks, this is going to be in this press review. We'll be hounded a couple of times as the SNP's bad government. You fuck all to do with the SNP. Nothing. By law, the Scottish Government must run a balanced budget. By law. If they don't, they're kicked out of office. And any money that's left over for the previous year have already been appointed to a project or to a service, just hasn't been allocated, or the project hasn't got underway yet. So it's impossible for the SNP to have a £5 billion black hole. So that black hole must be coming from somewhere, and all roads lead to Westminster. To quote West Streeton. Right, take that down. Find it, get rid of it. And then we'll go into the Herald, and the Herald's got some real nonsense in it today. And I mean real nonsense in it today. This one's a stoter, actually, the Herald. Where the fuck the Scotsman go? Yeah, just shot one down, I don't know what it was. Okay, the Herald. Let's get it up. We'll find out what one I shut down there when we get to it. The Herald was the second one. This is the first one for the bottom, so that should be it. And here we go again. Okay. The Herald. I love this one. Is Scotland missing out on a new golden nuclear age? No. Scotland's policy of not allowing further nuclear development and running down the nuclear developments that are here are the right thing to do. Why? Very simple, national security. You say, what? A national security? What do you mean, national security, David? Well, you don't need to be a nuclear state to wipe out a state that uses nuclear for power. All you go to do is target the nuclear power infrastructure, and you will have decimated everything in that land for thousands of years. You'll have wiped out the population. You will also have contaminated half of Europe and half of Ireland, and if they hit Sellafield, the bottom half of Scotland. But the reason for not having nuclear power in today's dangerous world is security. It is safer not to have nuclear power stations in your land at this point in time, because any state with a conventional weapon that could reach these islands could take England out just by hitting their nuclear facilities. That's why nuclear power is a bad idea. That's why it's always been a bad idea. Apart from the fact that actually, when you've used the power station, it comes to the end of its life. The land it sat on is no good for fucking 400 years or more. But for security reasons, nuclear power is a bad idea. So Herald, no, Scotland hasn't missed out on a new golden nuclear age, because the age we live in now is a very dangerous one, and these nuclear reactors are prime targets. There you go. And you're right, absolutely correct, Sir Larry. Absolutely correct. Stop sharing, and we'll find that and take it down. Next up this morning, we have the rancid, and we don't put the rancid up. Next up this morning, we have the rancid, and we don't put it up. It's on a crime story, and it says anger over lenient sentence. I was abused for 47 years, but my evil ex-hubby will be out in 2. Battered wife hits out at lenient sentence. So, fella abuses his wife for 47 years. She eventually has the courage to do something about it. It becomes a legal case. Goes to court. Fella get 2 years. Wife's not happy. She wanted him to get more. Okay, next up's the scum. We also don't put that one up. And the scum has a crime story. And it's copper con scheme, right? And it's Tetley Tams teas out. Jailed for 500 Scottish grown brew scam. This was a guy that imported 3 tea plants and then went about getting people to invest large amounts of money on a tea plantation, which didn't exist. Now, folks, before you snigger, there are actually areas of Scotland where we do grow tea. There's a group in Scotland called the TGS, the Tea Garden Scotland, and they produce tea here in Scotland specific to their areas and the microclimates in their areas. Okay, you should look it up, because I did. In fact, I might even be up here somewhere. Anyway, this guy imported 3 tea plants, convinced people to give him 500,000 quid to open up a tea plantation. Very good, huh? Right, next up we get Daily Fail. See if we can find the fucking thing. Well, the one I shut down probably. Oh, here it's here. Ex-Special Forces chiefs and MPs demand veterans who battled IRA are protected from prosecution. Stop Labour's betrayal of our SAS heroes. Nope. And prosecute the officers that gave them the order to. This, I was only following order shit. There's no excuse. The one thing you can do in the military is refuse an immoral order. And some of the carry on that was being carried out by the SAS in Northern Ireland was not within the rules of engagement. So they should be prosecuted. And the people who ordered them to do it should be prosecuted. And the Secretary of State at the time should be prosecuted. And I'm an ex-serviceman. Stoke Sharon, take that down. Find it and get rid of it. Next up's the Looney Rag the Express, I believe. Or aye, the Looney Rag the Express. This is a fucking stoter. Wait to see this for a pile of nonsense. And I mean a pile of nonsense. It's about time the SNP Scottish Government took this lot to court. Finance Secretary blames Westminster, then heads off for 10-week break, implying she's lazy when it's actually the recess. There's one every summer. It covers the period of school holidays. MSPs have got to see their families too. And SNP's massive $5 billion budget black hole signals cuts or tax rises. It's not the SNP's black hole. Legally, the SNP can't have a black hole. As we keep explaining to fucking idiots, Scotland doesn't have any debt. None. It's never had any debt. It's always contributed more to the empire in which it got back out. More to the union where it got back out. And you can ask Westminster themselves. Scotland don't have any debt. It's their debt. And they had to admit that in 2014. That Scotland doesn't have any debt. Because at that time, before the referendum, people were looking at splitting assets from this United Kingdom. And when it was looked into, it was discovered that Scotland had no debt. Any debt they have is a nominal debt appointed at a proportion to it by Westminster. But it's no Scotland's debt. We don't have any debt. We don't have a black hole. We can't have any debt, and we can have a wee bit of debt, but only to the Treasury, and we have to pay it back. I think it comes to about 2 billion we can borrow for the Treasury, for infrastructure, but that's it. The rest is going to be balanced books. And guess who sets how much comes north? The Treasury. Scotland doesn't have a £5 billion black hole budget black hole. That black hole's been given to Scotland as a gift. There you go. Cut. That's how it goes. All roads lead back to Westminster. And I don't know if you've seen the news, Edinburgh's now a bigger financial centre than fucking London. Woohoo! Let's get the fuck out of this union, folks. Let's get rid of that. But as I say, Scotland can't have any debt. But Westminster's got a shitload of debt. Would you like to see how much? Where are we? I'm down here. UK national debt. Share. There you go, folks. The UK's national debt, also known as public sector net debt, is currently around 2.69 trillion. But none of it's Scotland's. Not a fucking dime. Because Scotland doesn't have any debt. And it certainly doesn't have a black hole in its finances unless it's been created by the fucking Treasury. And by the way, folks, all these idiots out there that argued better together. Better together. Are we? We're debt free and asset rich. They're debt laden and have got fuck all. And yet we're better together. Fucking. Some loonies out there who obviously don't understand the economics or how the political system works or how Scotland is financed. Oofed. Right, that was the loony rag. Let's see what the Times has got for us today. If I've still got it. Oh, I've still got it. Good. Let's go find it. The Times. No, that was easy. The Times has US officials to visit Iran for talks on nuclear programme. What fucking nuclear programme? How could this four blind only a couple of days ago Trump was telling us he'd wiped their nuclear programme out? Well, it turns out they're bomb busting. Their bunker busting bombs couldn't they get deep enough into the ground to damage these facilities because they're all under mountains. What damage Trump did was to subsurface infrastructure. Apart from that, fuck all damage. Nothing. So now, US officials are going to have to go and sit down at the table with Iran because Donald Trump's strike means Iran is going to develop nuclear weapons or Russia's going to give them. In fact, Putin's already said he will give nuclear weapons to Iran. And that will change the whole power dynamic in the region. And I'm surprised that Iran agreed to a ceasefire. Or not, as the case may be. They should be battering Israel every day because they're running out of stockpile, they're running out of money, and the US can't keep getting them missiles fast enough. Stopping right now against Israel gives the US a chance to rearm Israel. And I heard Netanyahu pull the same thing he did with Saddam, and that is get rid of the Iranian regime and you'll get stability in the area. Fucking same playbook. America keeps falling for the same shite. And now the UK's complicit. And we also find out that the F-35As, the A standing for atomic, that the UK intend to get will be controlled by the Americans. The bombs will be owned by the Americans, and the UK will only be given permission to use them if the Americans approve of the plans. So much for their fucking sovereignty, eh? The defence strategy was signed away to America by Starmer at the beginning of his tenure as PM. Same as he's basically handed away control of the economy as well. So defence is now reliant on the US, and our economy is now reliant on the US. Isn't that fucking wonderful? And all that without asking the people's permission. Okay, let's take the Times down. Next one after the Times is normally the Telegraph. And it is, so let's find the Telegraph. Looks like the one I might have took down was the Star on. But I've got the page open, so I can always go and grab it. The Telegraph. Oh, by the way, sorry, there was a main headline in the Times that I missed. And that was that the rebel MPs want regime change. Looks like Starmer's jacket's on a shiggly peg. Looks like Starmer's jacket's on a shiggly peg. The rebel MPs want him gone. Right, the Telegraph has Starmer set to back down on benefits. And that has rumours that he is going to pull the vote. But he says he's not going to pull the vote. Looks like Starmer might be relying on Tory and Reform UK votes to get his benefit cuts through. That would be the end of him, of course. Britain isn't a country, it's a geological landmass, actually. Yes, you're right. Anyway, so Starmer's to pull or to back down on the benefit cuts, or the what they're calling benefit reform. Aye, did they want rid of McSweeney, to be fair? Right, so that's the Telegraph. Let's get that done. Sorry, I was just getting a bit intrigued there with one of the comments. Trying to decide whether it's something I should put up. Right, next up we have the Eye. But that's the one I've shut down by the looks of it. No, I've got that. It is the Star I shut down by mistake. Ah well, we'll get the Star back in a minute. The Eye has Starmer ready to retreat on benefit cuts to end rebellion. I don't know if that'll suffice. I really don't know if that'll suffice. It might buy him a bit of time, but I'm afraid Starmer's gone. He's finished. Absolutely finished. He's done. Hit the like button, folks, will you? It helps the algorithm. And that helps us generate with 20 pence of advertising revenue each month. But it all helps. It all helps. Right. So, I think Starmer's done. I think Rachel for accounts has had a day as well. I think Morgan McSweeney will be on the next plane back to Ireland. Because Starmer's done. I think it's not just these cuts. I think the austerity spending review and all will have for him. Because the ordinary Joe might not understand it was an austerity spending review, but the MPs do. So, I say Starmer's done for. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Right, to London. Shut it. Next up, we have a Guardian, which I don't have. So I'll go and grab the Guardian and I'll put the Star back up as well. A wee second to grab the Guardian. No, there's a Star there. I'll put that back up. Open image. And where is the Guardian? And it's here. Okay. Next up, we have a Guardian. And Starmer in denial over scale of Labour MP welfare rebellion. As far as I know, it's up to about 160 now, with 100 odd of them, 120 more signed a letter. And Trump says NATO pledge on defence is big win. For who? For the military-industrial complex? For the warmongers? For the people? No. And when we talk about these benefit cuts, folks, and the $1 billion to help people back into work for the disabled demographic, what worked? In the first 6 months of the year, and I made this comment on Reagan Elite's chat last night, 100,000 people have joined the unemployment benefits line. 100,000 jobs have been lost in the first 6 months of this year. It's not as many as was predicted. The Bank of England had predicted 250,000 by now. But they're talking about investing huge amounts of money to get disabled people into jobs that don't exist. And an ever-declining market, a shrinking market, as we've just seen the latest GDP figures out. GDP since we left Brexit is down 5%. The economy shrunk by 0.3% in the first and second quarters of this year. Unemployment up by 100,000. And these fucking idiots are talking about growth. These fucking idiots are talking about getting people off benefits and into work. Wow. I'm talking about labour shortages at the same time. Amazing. It's a bit like America right now. I'm pissed myself laughing at in Nebraska and Texas right now. They voted to get rid of the undocumented immigrants that were working in their farms. Do you know? They expected the black Americans to start working in farms again. They thought they were getting their fucking slaves back. Wow. Where did they get that idea from? Donald Trump himself. Because Donald Trump said on TV once upon a time, and at a MAGA rally once upon a time, that the Hispanics were taking the blacks' jobs. He meant in the fields. Mental. Right, next up we've got the Metro, I think. I don't think we've seen the Metro or the National yet, have we? That's the Guardian. To start. The Metro. Here we go. Jail for fake Scottish tea fraudster. Then this is the Muppet here. This guy here is the guy that convinced people to part with £500,000 after importing 3 tea plants. Some gullible people in Scotland. Some real gullible people in Scotland. There's some real gullible people everywhere, to be fair. Shut that one down. Shut that one down. Next up, we get a National. Let's see what the Nationals go for us this morning. Swinney apologises to Gypsy Traveller Community Welcome. Or Swinney's apology to Gypsy Traveller Community Welcome. Don't know what he's done, but I guess he should apologise. And 3 nations unite to blast UK failure of devolution. Parliamentary committee condemns lack of engagement on welfare reforms. Didn't they talk to Wales? Didn't they talk to Scotland? Didn't they talk to Northern Ireland? England-centric. More than 100 charities urge Scottish Labour to oppose brutal cuts. 10 of them are going to oppose it. 10 out of 37. The rest of them are just stooges, lackeys, lobby fodder. An SNP-backed rebel opposition bill, which Sarwar stands by PM Starmer. Well, he'll die by that sword the same as Starmer will. And Scottish enterprise to keep funding Israeli-linked arms firms. Just so you know, folks, because there's been a big stooshy about this. But Scottish enterprise and the Scottish government don't invest in arms firms for them to make arms or research and development. They invest in these companies to divest away from arms production. That's what the money for Scottish enterprise does. Just so that you know. Okay. But should Scottish enterprise be giving money to arms companies even to divest away from arms manufacturing? That depends on the long strategy, doesn't it? If you want to be able to keep that company in your country, providing employment for your people, but you don't want them producing arms, then you help them divest of being an arms company. Simple as that. Okay. Right, that leaves us with just one paper to look at this morning, and that is the Star. And the Star has a showbiz exclusive, folks, which is a shame. I always look forward to a boffin, but we haven't had one of them for a while. I think they must have run out of boffins or lost the key to the cupboard. Anyway, let's stick the Star up, shall we, and see what it's got this morning. The Star has showbiz exclusive. It's call over. BBC ends Call the Midwife after 15 years, and it will end with one more series and a blockbuster film, folks. There you go. 15 years it's been on the TV, apparently. And Davey hasn't seen a single fucking episode. Because as you all know, I do not watch television. I wouldn't let it pollute me. I just wouldn't let it pollute my thinking. And that we would right down to dramas and everything. But, why goes he? Well, as I say, the nonsense in the newspaper that the Scottish government's got a $5 billion black hole, and it can't have a black hole. It can only ever have a balanced budget. Even monies that are left there for the year before have already been allocated to projects and to services. So, the nonsense in the newspapers tell you that there's more cuts coming down the road. And of course, we'll have the chance to talk about the austerity spending review and explain why it's an austerity spending review. Because it lays out spending in each of the departments for the next 5 years. The most money is going to defence and to the NHS. And even those numbers don't keep up with inflation. As it sits now, and as we know there's inflationary pressures coming, there's every chance that Iran can shut down the straits out there. Can't remember what they're called again off the top of my head. And that would mean the price of fuel and goods rocketing, as it all has to take the long way round. Okay, inflation is on its way up. You've got Trump fucking about. You've got disruption to passage through the Middle East. We have a shrinking economy. And food price growth is running about 4.6% right now. So, things are not looking great, folks. And the spending review doesn't make it any better, I can assure you. You look after yourselves. I'll be back tomorrow morning to do it all again for the last one of the week. Thanks for watching in great numbers. I'll go on to the Midlothian food charities now and start getting your money out to that community. Thank you very much. Bye for now.